If you want to show us some love, donate at rubydaytv.com, the home of all my exclusives. And don't forget to leave the show a rating or a review. Thanks to Tantaley for sponsoring today's episode. Tantaley has everything you need for your next self-care moment, with a wide range of high-quality companion dolls to fit any taste. So make sure to check out Tantaley and use code RUBYDAY to get 12% off your purchase. Realism redefined. You deserve the best experience. So lifelike, you'll be amazed at how real they feel. Welcome to Love Shot. I'm Ruby Day.
And I'm Olivia.
Okay, threesomes. What are the rules of threesomes? Poly versus monogamy.
What are your rules?
I don't have many rules. I've just learned it's better for me because I have a tendency to get into situations, and depending on my partner, like it kind of is a free-for-all of exploration and experimentation.
Yeah.
So I don't have too many rules except for be respectful, feel safe, and that means be respectful of your current relationship and the person you're with.
Yeah, my partner always says safe, sane, and consensual.
Yeah, safe, sane, and consensual.
The three, yeah.
I want them to be safe, sane, and it's all consensual all the way around. Those are my main three premise rules, and that even applies to threesomes.
Was that always the way in your relationships?
Yeah, always.
And so you...
Ever since I started dating, it was that way.
Right.
And I think a lot of it was because I didn't want to feel constricted or confined with my own self-development and exploration and things that I felt like I needed to make myself a whole, well-rounded person. And I didn't want to take that from anyone else. So those were like just three golden rules that everybody could, agree on. And then past that, there were nuances.
You always had no rules with threesomes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, goodness. Wow.
Except for those three.
Yeah. Would you say you were always kind of a poly, open lifestyle person?
I think I came out born that way.
Yeah, okay.
Like, I don't know any different. I mean, don't get me wrong. I had guys that I dated who were very monogamous, and it just, like, from the moment I figured it out or the moment they said it, even if I tried it early on, because I didn't know, I was exploring. I thought, well, let's try this and let's see what this whole monogamy thing is about. Yeah, it did not work. About 3 months into it, I was like getting fidgety and I'm going, I can't do this. I mean, I can do this, but this isn't making me happy. I'm not feeling fulfilled in this relationship. And if I didn't feel like it was working well, then it sometimes I think came off as a surprise. I came to my partner and said, this isn't working for me.
Yeah, I was monogamous the first part of my life, and I early on, I was dating a partner who wanted to do that type of stuff and wanted to, have a threesome and bring another woman in, and I was, what can I say? I was excited to explore some of that possibility because I had had some bisexual experiences early on in my life. So I was comfortable with women. I knew I liked women, but I also I don't want them to compare me. I think there was some, and I'm also like, what if they like the feel of them better than me? And so there was some insecurities I had early on. And I think a lot of my monogamish feelings about it they were insecure feelings early on. But I was raised a monogamous person. I was raised in a monogamy family. I was raised that way, but there was something always in me that was always curious. And, it took me a while. It wasn't until my 20s probably mid-20s that I decided to actually have a threesome and start an open relationship with someone. And I loved it. I mean, I really loved having monogamy because I loved having that person that's all mine. But after some point, I had been dating this person for a significant amount of time, and we just kind of got to the point where we were all curious and exploring, and I got curious to explore as well. And when you bring another person in, it's an entirely different experience. So I decided to be open-minded. And, we did set some rules and things like that. We definitely talked about safe sex. We definitely talked to practice those types of things. As well as, we had the communication where if my partner just said they feel uncomfortable with something, listen to each other. Listen to your partner.
Yeah.
If there's something uncomfortable, don't do it. And we made that rule where we're just not going to do it. And it didn't matter if we were like right dead in the middle of it. If somebody got uncomfortable, we stopped. And that was the rule that we had.
Okay, just slow down. Let's get this figured out.
Right. And so that you don't wreck your car, basically.
Yep.
It's like, you can always stop. And I know it may be uncomfortable. And maybe that third person that you bring in be like, what's going on? But it's something, that third person is the extra. And, when you have that solid relationship, you don't want to disturb that. You're supposed to be doing this as a bonding experience. And I was always told back in the day when we first started this, you had heard some of our friends would say that had explored the open lifestyles. They were like, couples who play together, stay together. So what my partner and I did, we decided to have some threesomes. We had our first threesome and we had those rules in place and it went really well for us. And so we decided to have another threesome and another threesome. And, over time, we got a little bit more laxed on the rules because we both got comfortable. And I think that's something that can happen. Yeah.
A trust got built between the two partners.
Right.
But that's, what about being the third person in the threesome versus having someone else come in to be the threesome?
Well, I got to have that experience later down the road too, because at one point my partner, my spouse said, "Hey, I asked if I could join the couple. I had a couple ask me if I would join them, and they were like, "Okay, you can try that." And so I ended up being that other party. And I'll be honest with you, it's an entirely different experience. It's not the same. And I had many threesomes with my partner, right? At this point. But when I had my first threesome without my partner and I went with another couple, oh my gosh, it was an entirely different experience. And I can't tell you that, if you've only experienced one side of the coin, it is a drastically different side of the coin, and there's a drastically different side of experience you're going to have, and
different set of rules because it's mainly based off of the couple that you're with's rules and what they're comfortable with. And so I think that's the big thing with threesomes, whether you're in a poly or a monogamous relationship, is how is that dynamic of the threesome? Are you the third additive, or are you the couple adding a third?
Right.
Because the rules do shift and how it gets experienced shifts, and everybody has to be very respectful of that.
Right.
I know when I was a couple doing threesomes, we were always we made sure together that we knew our comfortability and where our lines and our boundaries were. We really talked about that and had that solidly outlined before we went into the experience. But then as a couple, when we went into the experience, we were just as courteous and concerned about that third person, respectful,
it is respectful
of the third person you're bringing in, because you need to look at it from their viewpoint. They're coming into two other people. They're nervous and awkward and uncomfortable because they may not know you very well. So they don't know where the boundaries are, and they don't want to overstep or do something to offend any of the other two people involved.
The best thing you can do is everybody communicate. So that's what I did. When I went to have my first threesome with a couple by myself without my spouse, the first thing we did when we met was we all sat down and talked about the rules. I wanted to know that couple's rules. I wanted to know if there was anything off limits, because the last thing I wanted to do was in the heat of passion do something that was off their rules, and all of a sudden they're now having a tiff with each other, and now all of a sudden I don't want to be in that situation.
The experience doesn't actually happen then.
Right. Or it can still happen, but it's like I've been in situations where it happens and all of a sudden something happened and I didn't know that rule, and it was like, oh goodness, now the couple's having a tiff. What did I just do? Right, they're having a tiff, and now you feel like this odd person out.
Yeah. Or like you did something wrong and you didn't.
Right. So yeah, the best advice is, and that was always my rule. My partner always said that: communicate with them, ask them what their rules are,
Yeah.
and you communicate with them with your rules. That's what my rule with my partner was: is make sure I communicate with them, make sure I get to know theirs, they know mine, so there's no uncomfortable situations that occur, whether it's before, during, or after.
Because that conversation can happen
Yeah.
in the process of having the
Oh,
threesome
it can,
too.
and there's nothing wrong with
Now,
that.
I always enjoyed, you mentioned that you guys got together and sat down and talked about what everyone was comfortable with. I'm assuming beforehand.
Oh yes, yes.
Now, my experience was always, hey, I'm interested in you, you game. Yeah, okay, let's set a date. And then when everybody shows up before the play starts, I always just ask, hey, what's on the no list?
Right.
What's on the cannot do list?
Yes.
And so that gave me the parameters, and it didn't make it this whole long, drug out, nervous process. It was just, hey, let's touch base right before we all get to playing so that I can keep in mind what's not okay that I may naturally do. And what that also allowed me to know what was on the table. By
Right,
saying,
right.
hey, some couples or some individuals said, I'm not comfortable with kissing, it's too intimate for me. Okay, we just won't kiss. And then, if somebody said that, a lot of
Yeah.
times I'd go with a follow up and go, is that the only thing? Or are other aspects of intimacy? And I'd list them out. Is that okay? And they'd be like, yeah, I'm totally cool with that. So then it's a smooth flow and it doesn't interrupt the energy of the moment.
Yeah.
And you can you're talking about sex with each other and you can just go right into the playtime.
Well, it calms the nerves and it calms anybody's insecurities and things
Yeah.
like that too, for everybody involved. But like I said, back when I was a monogamish person, and I started wanting, my partner wanted to explore this and bring someone in, I was nervous. I was really, really nervous that it was going to change our relationship dynamic, but it did not. It did not, and we went back to being monogamish. It's like we're monogamy, but we had these moments that we explored it from time to time. And then we found we liked it, and over time, we eventually we decided to open our relationship and do that. I have to say my spouse had much more experience than I did with things like that. They were more comfortable than I was, so I had to be a little bit coerced. I guess a little bit. I say that, but it's like I think it was just more of just make me feel comfortable.
Yeah.
My spouse definitely needed to make me feel comfortable with that. There was nobody replacing anybody. There's nobody. It's not about a competition. It's not about that. It's just really about adding something extra.
It's just having a new experience.
Right. Yeah, and it's like you get an assistant. It's like you have an extra tool, an extra assistant in the process, and that's what a threesome really is. You got an extra body that can hit different buttons while you guys are working on another button, and then you can swap it all up and change up the deal, and it's really, really fun.
Now, see, I look at it as more of an amusement park. And some days I want to go ride a roller coaster. Other days I want to ride the tilt-a-whirl. Other days I just want to watch a performance.
Right.
And so that's kind of what threesomes for me was like, that just additive. I'm at the amusement park. I have a partner. We're being sexual. We're living life. But I kind of want to try something new for a change, just for something different. And to have a different experience with my partner so that we can have a different type of bonding experience rather than sometimes the same old can get mundane.
And I think the other thing that you should definitely talk about, because it's like, I know guys and couples and stuff like that. Guys are always wanting to have a threesome, bring another woman in. But guys, you definitely have to think, if if your woman lets you do that, you got to
Be
realize,
prepared for her to bring another man in if she wants.
Yes, she's going to bring another man in at some point because she's going to get curious too. The same reason you got curious for that.
Absolutely.
And so you just have to be open-minded.
Fair game.
I think that's the key, is going into it. And when you set rules, be open-minded, be flexible. Realize these rules may change over time. They will most likely change over time, and they may bend a little bit. And you got to be okay with that, and you got to communicate with your partner, whether you're in a poly relationship, a open relationship, or a monogamous relationship. You got to communicate that, because it's going to change, because human beings' sexuality is very fluid. And when you start exploring that, you start realizing, hey, I like that. Oh my goodness, that was something I didn't do. If you'd never had experience with it, you would never know. So it's really like trying that new food. And you're like, I didn't know I liked that, but now I do. And now I want to explore more types of food like that. So, food and sex, very close. That's what I always say.
Hey, if you can combine them, even
Yeah,
better.
right on.
Now, see, I've actually had threesomes with couples who were more friends who just connected up to have a safe sexual experience, and they want to have a threesome. That they weren't necessarily an item, they weren't necessarily dating.
It's like friends with benefits.
Yeah, friends
they're
with
playing
benefits
together.
that decided, hey, we want to team up because we want to have a threesome experience, and they wanted somebody that they already felt comfortable with to do it with. And I've been in plenty of those.
Oh my gosh.
And in those situations, because of their relationship dynamic, that threesome can operate a little differently.
Oh my goodness.
So definitely, one of the big points that I always try to do right off the bat is get to know what type of relationship dynamic those other people are in.
Right.
So that you can have a better idea of the type of interaction, because being with friends with benefits that do threesomes is going to be a very different protocol than a monogamous couple who is just wanting to explore a little bit and then go back to their monogamy. And that's all going to be very different from poly relationships that want to have threesomes.
Yeah, it's funny that you brought this up.
So I always ask, what's your relationship dynamic? So that I can understand where my other partners, where they're coming from better.
It's funny you bring this up. I recently had this experience. A guy I'm seeing, a friends with benefits. He had started seeing another one of his friends with benefits, another woman. He literally came to me and says, hey, I told her about you. What do you think about getting us all together and having a threesome? So it's like, oh, wow, this is interesting. And this was a new partner he had. I've been seeing this gentleman for, several months. And he met this new woman, and he really jammed, and he thought I would really like her. So I said, well, the first thing we were going to do, we all decided to meet and kind of have a kitchen, kind of sit around the table, kind of like poly, but it's not a poly relationship. But the interesting thing was, myself, I'm a poly girl. The other woman involved, she's been practicing poly most of her life as well. But yet we're all in a friends with benefits sort of thing, wanting to do a threesome. And now the man was definitely the instigator in this situation. But we met each other. We talked about rules. We talked about boundaries. And we were like, yeah, we like each other. We got to get to know each other.
It all matched up.
It matched up. And we were like, yeah, let's do this. And I think it is exciting. But the thing was, none of us are in a committed relationship with each other. In this threesome thing, but yet we're still doing the same things. We're still having to set rules. We're still having to talk about boundaries. We're still having to set what people are comfortable with, so that it's just we can have a good time when the day arrives and we set a date. So we're scheduling a date here soon to do that threesome, and I'll probably report back on that how it's going to be. But it's funny you brought that up.
Well, and I think that's one of the key things about navigating whether you're monogamous or poly.
Yeah,
threesome experiences is, don't go do a threesome if there's any aspect of it that you're just not quite sure if you're comfortable with.
Absolutely.
And if you're questioning it, because I've done this the other way, my advice is just don't do it with those people and find someone else.
Yeah.
That you don't even have those, I'm not quite sure, or I'm a little hesitant, or... take the time. You don't have to do it. You can change your mind and go back and see if they're still available or interested at any point in time. But I've gone into threesomes where I've had some of those hesitations. And it's not that they were bad experiences. It's just it really didn't provide the experience I was looking for.
Right. I think we like to say, don't take one for the team. You know what I mean? If you're wanting to have a threesome and stuff like that, I would highly recommend apps like Field. It's a really great place to meet people that you can do those types of things with. Also, lifestyle sites, swing sites. Those are a great resource to meet other like-minded people.
Especially for casual threesomes.
Yes, right.
Because, the swing lifestyle, it's all about
casual.
aspect about that casualness. And so you've got people who are already, like, they have those boundaries in place. They know how to appropriate it. They're there to have a good time.
Absolutely.
And have fun. But I know Field is very much an open lifestyle
It
as
is,
well.
yeah.
And there are quite a few people looking for that similar thing, but don't want to be involved in the swing lifestyle.
And we're not being paid by any of these companies.
No.
This is just our own experience.
This is just experience.
Yeah, and I have to say, Field's one of my favorite apps I meet people on. A lot of great folks there, a lot of different types of dynamics, and you really can people are really upfront, like, hey, I'm wanting to have this experience. Like the other day, I ran across a couple that was on there, and they were wanting to have their very first threesome. And they literally put it in their profile that, hey, we're just looking to have our very first threesome, and they're looking for this criteria, and this is what they are like, and this is how they are as a married couple. And I thought
honestly,
it was really sweet. Yeah.
I recommend people like that because you know what it is.
Right.
And you know how far it's going to go. You know how much the strings are attached or detached.
Yeah.
And you can really go in openly to have the type of experience you're looking for.
The best advice that I'll leave you with is literally just be real open and honest and communicate what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Because if you do that and somebody says, yeah, I'm looking for that same thing, you have a better chance of a good match.
Absolutely.
If you want to show us some love, donate at rubydaytv.com, the home of all my exclusives. And don't forget to leave the show a rating or a review.